Hello, I'm Alan Davis. You are listening to the Tuesday Club. This is the Arsenal podcast, and I've got Keith Dover with us. Stephen, how are you, Keith?
I'm fine, Alan. Absolutely chomping at the bit. I'm pumped up. I'm raring to go.
Keith has been supporting Arsenal since 1887.
That's absolutely correct. Someone had to.
And Ty Papula is here.
Hello,
how are you, Ty? You all right?
I'm really good. It's been a wonderful couple of days, Al.
Yeah, it's been nice, hasn't it?
It has. It's why we used to go to the football in the first place. We had a great drink afterwards. We had a lunchtime kick-off, and we had loads of laughter afterwards.
Yeah, I have to say, though, that the lunchtime kick-off it did end up in quite dark places by about 8 o'clock in the evening.
Where did you end up?
I was in Morrison's. I couldn't find my way out of there.
It's not how it used to.
I picked up some trolley in the car park and it didn't go straight sideways or backwards. I didn't know. I was sort of pushing it. There was almost sparks flying. And the little coin thing was spinning round. It was obviously a derelict trolley, the sort of thing you only find in Morrison's.
I was told.
But I was so drunk, I thought, I can't go in Waitrose.
I was told that you can use a euro. I was told that you can use a euro in your trolleys and it gets away with it.
I think you can use a false fingernail in a trolley in Morrison's. In fact, quite often you'll find one.
It was excellent. We've got our new watering hole. It was very accommodating.
Well, I was meant to take Linda to see Murder on the Orient Express because I didn't, the signs weren't looking good that we were going to get a result against Spurs. So when we did, obviously we did stay behind for the odd beer. About 8. And so by the time I got home...
I'd had 8 by about 3:30. Sort of time that is start a game.
Can I just say it was excellent. Speaking of the lovely Linda, looking great in some fake fur on Sunday. When I bumped into you, you looked surprised. I thought you looked like I was going to mug.
Keith shoots out of his bow and arrow.
Yes.
Well, he was dressed. The rest of him was dressed like Indiana Jones.
Well,
my neighbour's going, Rover! Rover!
You know that look.
Rover!
When you don't.
The Dovers have killed another dog.
When you don't recognise someone and you think that they're going to kind of steal your wallet. That's the look that Keith gave me.
It wasn't
slalom towards him.
Well, you was on a skateboard.
Were you?
Yeah, he fails to mention that. He's hurtling towards me at 30 mile an hour.
No wonder you missed him with the arrows.
I was on a skateboard. Yeah, I was. Yeah.
How old are you?
The size of a surfboard. Even I could have stood on that thing and gone down the road.
You're about the age. That's like seeing Shay Given on a skateboard.
We're the same age, I think.
That's inappropriate, right? It's Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah.
Nketiah. We call him Keith, right? His surname basically says Keith.
Yeah.
So he can be on a skateboard, but
he can be on a skateboard if he wants, when he's warming up to come on.
Do you know what the best bit is? Cause I saw Keith and it was really nice, so we walked back to...
Nketiah?
Walked back to say hello to...
Abby.
At our place, to Abby, yes, to Abby and Rafi. And then I went back down to the shops, which was on the way down. But fortunately, you'd gone by then, but I did come off my skateboard on the way back.
Oh, you did?
You fell off it?
No.
You don't bounce back up, do you, at your time of life? That's the trouble.
You don't bounce back up.
You stay down. Yeah. Don't you? You stay down.
Stay down to try and make it seem more serious. Just like wait for the embarrassment to go. Luckily, the wine bottles didn't break because we were celebrating.
Save the wine bottles.
Celebrating well into the second day.
Who goes down the offie on a skateboard?
Very few people.
Wait, Ty's show me a photograph of Keith and Linda, and all I can say, Keith, is Linda spends a lot more on her hair than you do.
Oh, hang on, I dispute that. I've recently had a haircut at my Turkish barbers for £40.
£40? They saw you coming.
No, because I get a shave.
That is like a month's taking.
No, listen, I get a shave.
What do they shave, for God's sake, for 40 quid? That's got to be back crack and sack for 40 quid.
Get a shave, get a mud pack, and
they do it at arm's length. They put the clippers on a selfie stick. And they do his ass. That's the £40.
I never want to think of that.
No, again. I don't want to think about that.
You can be on the street. You don't even have to go in the shop, though, do you?
Listen, I don't go to any old barber, I just get the prestige bar. I get the full Monty.
Oh, so why were you hiding? Why were you hiding it under your Indiana Jones hat? Is that your Sunday best?
No, it's my Sunday casual look.
There's nothing casual about that hat.
Going up.
That's a hat that you fight Nazis with a sword.
Yeah, it's a good hat, actually, isn't it? And then, after a lovely Sunday pub lunch, we went to see, Linda took us along, because she loves to try and educate me. We went to Whitechapel Library to see this guy, I think he's called Mike Dean, talk about Yiddish jazz music in the 20s.
Hang on, wasn't Mike Dean a ref on the weekend?
Well, it was Dean something. It might have been related to chairman. But,
well, hang on.
No, not the referee.
The referee does
it's a
Yiddish
Jewish
jazz.
bloke. Yeah, well, somebody had to.
Fresh from allowing 2 offside goals, hey! He went down to go and front a Yiddish jazz quartet. Is that what you're saying?
It's very interesting.
Mike
actually.
Dean, Kevin Friend, who angered Damien, by the way, by just being there.
By being in their view. Well, the first goal of the
by the way, let's
win!
start.
Yay! Boom!
Oh dear!
Because they're better than us.
Oh God!
The pendulum has swung, mate.
How many times did you hear the words power shift in the pub afterwards?
Take your
Can
time.
I have 2 pints of power shift? I went in the box and had a power shift. Everything was related to the power shift.
Oh, yeah.
It suddenly turns out that they're not as good as they're supposed to be, and we're not as bad. Who knew?
They did not turn up. And then before the game, we were laughing. We were sitting there going, well, our forward line has cost 150 million quid or whatever, and theirs has cost 16, so ours has got to be 10 times better, right? And all laughing, slightly fearful, having seen Christian Eriksen's demolition of Ireland in the week, and Harry Kane scores all the time and all the rest of it. Anyway, it turns out that ours is worth quite... Basically, that is the market value of our sensational forward line. And they are pony and trap, and it gave me a huge pleasure to go back to Milton Keynes at one point.
You did, actually, which did collapse.
Got a laugh from about 5 rows in block 32.
Collapse block 32.
I have enough vanity to try and get a laugh off the surrounding fans every now and then, which I got 2 laughs at the weekend. The second one was when we were under intense pressure, 20 minutes from the end, we completed 2 successive passes, and I went, Ole! Damien nearly shat on his seat.
I'm with Damien on the O-line. I'm with him on the O-line.
It was an excellent moment, but they didn't come in. They didn't come into the game, but we didn't allow them to. Al, we played really damn well that day.
No, well, much was made of our expense. How much is your forward line? How much was your forward line? How much was your forward line? It's the going rate for a top quality forward line. How much was your centre back? 45 million they spent on centre back, mind you. He looks quite a decent centre-back, and there was nothing wrong with his tackle on Alexis Sanchez.
And that's what makes
it
better.
It was an absolute mystery decision, that free kick. We was the other side of the ground from us. What's he giving that for? He must have seen something, right? Everyone's going, he must have done something. I don't know what he's done, the little shirt tug. But he hadn't at all. So that was a nice free kick.
On the 17th viewing of Match of the Day, I came to the conclusion...
Still fast forward over the analysis, though, right?
I came to the conclusion that it was not a free kick. But the good thing about that, because where we were, not only were we straight down the sight of Mustafi's header...
Yeah. We knew it was in before it was in.
We saw beforehand that Mustafi was going he was going to Mesut. Take it.
I'm going to
stand
offside. Look for me, I'll be the one offside.
Yeah, and when we're talking about offside here, we're talking about the width of a shirt, aren't we? I mean, really, offside for me is when you're well and truly standing on your own.
I want daylight.
Exactly.
I've seen him give
daylight.
I want daylight. I'm still bitter about Lacazette's thunderbolt at Stoke, right?
Which was what? The width of a
when
stud.
they said, it's the correct decision because half of his boot was offside, which is not the reason it was given. It was a mistake. It was a mistake.
I didn't know, for his second goal, which we'll come to, because we haven't finished laughing at the first one yet.
The splendour of Mustafi's header.
Did you know that the only part of you that can't be offside is your arm?
Is your what?
Did you know that? Your arm can't be offside.
Your arm can't be offside.
Your arms can't be offside.
Because you're not allowed to use your arms to play the ball. That's the thing, right? You can the only bit of you that can be offside is a bit of you that you can play the ball with.
I didn't say it was a logical thing. I'm just
that is the actual rule.
Is that
That is the actual rule, yeah. So you can wave your arms about in an offside position and torment people. I'm waving my arms. I'm waving my arms, listener, as if I was level on the edge of the D.
And you can do that and not be offside. But
when they did an analysis, look, he's offside. You expect him to be, as you say, 4 feet on his own, smoking a fag while everyone else is away from him, and the ball comes over and he's got all the time in the world to knock it in. We are talking hairbreadth NASA technology to work out how far this guy was offside.
Yeah, or just a basic bog standard replay on the BBC.
Yeah. Say that, Alan. It's not offside. It wasn't offside.
But just the same as the week before.
No, it's good that it was offside.
Because that winds them up even more.
Yeah. Because one went our way for a change. Because it didn't go our way at Manchester City, did it?
Just as much as I do remember quite a few pundits and everyone else going, well, I mean, if the Arsenal fans are gonna go on about the offside being the reason why they lost to Man City, then the decision's going to be the reason why they lost to Man City, then more fool them. Exactly the same this weekend. If you cannot say that just because of an infraction on either goal that we didn't deserve to absolutely trounce and humiliate Tottenham.
Well, the second goal was only 4 minutes later, right? And it had been coming because we've been getting to the byline and getting it across. Lacazette nearly got onto one, didn't he? There's been a couple of moments, and then it was just starting to build, and we were getting in behind and creating chances, and goal came. Nice little ball in, and Sanchez is about the only player you can think of who could take the ball whilst travelling himself at quite a speed and marked and close to the goal and control it and turn and control it, have the kind of foresight to lift it over Lloris and do everything that he did in a blink of an eye. It's a wonder.
Well, Lloris did help him by doing that sort of Joe Hart thing of sort of jumping backwards and lying down.
Oh, like your double criticism of two of the world's best goalkeepers. Bang, bang, double hit, Lloris and Hart, down.
Both in
Ouch.
But Lacazette,
can I just say to you, Manuel Almunia, just before you think too much about the flaws of Hart and Lloris.
That came up. I'm sure we'll come to him and Jens later on in this. But Lacazette absolutely fired that ball in, rifled that ball in. Like, as you say, Sanchez is coming at an identical speed as the ball the other way, and manages to kill it
nicely,
juggled on his thigh, and then waited. That did, we've praised Messi at this time. You know the way that Messi always waits for the keeper to go and do something wrong.
Well, he had a look at him.
Lloris
subsequently, he had two
backwards.
similar chances that he hit straight at the keeper, didn't he? But he lifted that one nicely, and that was perfect because we needed that second one before half time as well.
Almost passed out. You know.
It was bedlam. Bedlam in row 16. I'm not really up for all the hugging nowadays. I back well away from it.
You did actually.
I'll get off.
You can barely stand, to be fair.
Man, yeah. Well, the bloke in front of me, well, I don't know who he is, some friend of Richie's. Well, how tall was he? He was NBA height, wasn't he?
Down. Yeah.
And he kept standing up. I mean, what can't you see from where you already are? He stood up. He had a clear view into Pochettino's pockets.
At 6'3".
From there, yeah. But Pochettino changed coats at half time, by the way.
I did not notice
that. I think I'm the only person in the world who noticed that. So, which is why this podcast is a cut above.
Yeah. Oh, when it comes to coat changing, we are second to none.
Coats are always superstitious. Sign of weakness.
But before we got to those two goals, it was bearing in mind the fact that all the defence. I mean, we picked up Mustafi for our cheers.
Man, he was awesome.
But all the defence were man of the match. But it was a bit of a shaky start. I didn't realise. I mean, whether he's overweight or not, whether he was just unfit. I didn't realise the size of Harry Kane. He's a big lad.
He's a big lad.
He's a big lad, and he did seem to kind of monster Koscielny in the first couple.
You're a big man, but you're out of shape.
And wasn't he just? You can't start with. I've got a bit of a. Should I say this here? I've got a bit of a man crush on Eriksen because he's so damn good. I mean, in the same way that Eriksen used...
Absent without leave, mate. AWOL.
Modric used to be, but he was not even on the damn pitch.
He's not in the same league as Mesut Ozil. I know he scored a hat-trick against Ireland, and it was very nicely done. And I was gutted, actually. And those World Cup players went all wrong for me. All wrong. We could have had a World Cup with Italy, Northern Ireland, and the Republic of Ireland. And instead of that, we got Switzerland, Denmark, and Sweden. And those are group games you do not want to watch. I'm telling you now. Even though they've got one or two decent players, holy smoke, they'll be boring matches. They really will, especially anything involving Sweden. Even the horror of watching Italy fail to score against Sweden and playing with 5 defenders until there were 20 minutes left or whatever they did. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And in the end, it was Buffon was their principal attacking threat. Absolutely heartbreaking. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
I digress. I know Christian Eriksen has played well, but he is absolutely AWOL. Dele Alli's not looked like a kid. And suddenly their forward line, which has been creating a lot of chances and taking them, which actually on the face of it you think, well, none of them can beat a man. None of them have got any pace. None of them can go wide. So why do they work as a forward line? Well, they didn't work on the day.
And none of them have got any width at all, which I think is something... I'm claiming it for myself, but I think it was actually you pointed out in the pub on Saturday that they play with no width at all.
No, and they brought Song on late, and they put a lot of faith in Ben Davies getting up the field, but he didn't. Trippier they rate too highly. Aurea, I don't know, they didn't want to pick him. They got this muscly
middle in the midfield. I've always liked Dembele. There's something like kind of languid about him, and he does the odd look away pass. You know how I feel about those.
He's a very
But
attractive
it's
man.
like,
He's a very attractive man.
But
I'll give him
none
that.
of them. But they got.
He looks like a soul singer from a band that was big about 20 years ago. He looks like. He's like in. I was going hot chocolate. That's not right.
Do you know what? I find refreshing? Though?
It looks like he should. He's from straight out of Earth. I'm going to say Earth,
Wind and Fire.
Yeah,
A bit of Morris White.
You can Google a photo now and pick out the one that you think looks like Moussa Dembele.
If I was being a fair person, which I'm not, then you'd say that their three best players were unfit. Eriksen and this thing at the weekend. But our best players played like our best players should, and that was what the massive difference was. And who would have thought that Jamie Carragher, being a defender of the Arsenal faith, he said this. I think he said today on Football 365, which I thought was a really interesting point. No, he said it on Monday. It was reported on Football 365. If Ozil had played like Dele Alli had played, he would have been absolutely slaughtered. And of course, that doesn't fit the kind of that doesn't fit the Spurs narrative. So you won't worry about that for a minute. But Mesut Ozil was fantastic. I had someone chatting to me in a week. I can't remember who.
He turned up,
so you don't get shamed.
He turned up.
Who said that? These big players will be in the shop window. They don't know what this. They don't know what this derby game's
I'm
about.
looking at Earth, Wind and Fire, and there's 8 of them, and none of them look like Moussa Dembele. So I've got to take it back.
But listen, I tell you,
saying they all look the same, Al.
What was a pleasure for me? I've got to say this.
They don't. They've all got different sunglasses.
I've had for months.
Mesut Ozil was fantastic.
It was brilliant. But listen, I've had for months Tottenham fans telling me how great they are. I mean, listen, you walk into a room with Chelsea or Man United fans or City fans, they give it large, you go, fair play, you've been there, you've won the Premiership. All I've had from Tottenham fans, you walk in, I don't get aggressive with them, I don't mention how shit they are, but as soon as you go in, they start talking as if they've won the Premiership and the Champions League for the last 10 years. You haven't won anything since 2008, and you're still telling me how you're a better club than mine.
What about Pochettino saying he'd rather be where they are than Arsenal winning 3 FA Cups?
Just win something.
They don't want to win the FA Cup. They want to win the Premier League. Well, they're not going to win the Premier League.
They've got to get past Manchester United, City and Chelsea.
My friends. Dry your little eyes.
Didn't you love it?
You will never win the Premier League or the Champions League. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're not even going to win the FA Cup because you are shit.
Don't you love it when someone
Tottenham Hotspur, you'll always be shit. You'll always be shit. You know it's a good song when you hear men who haven't cleared their lungs for 20 years hacking away phlegm and opening up bits of their lungs that haven't opened up the back of Block 32 going, Tottenham Hotspur, you'll always be shit. You'll always be shit. You'll always be shit. Tottenham Hotspur. Nothing from the family enclosure. Nothing. It was joyous to see. And the thing was, Arsenal were more up for it. And now it doesn't matter, over the years, the thing that's always got us through is that Arsenal have always been more up for it. And we have lost a couple of games against them. One in particular annoying one when we were 2 up and lost 3-2. And so maybe they think every now and then there'll be a chance. But there wasn't a chance on the day, it turned out. They absolutely didn't turn up. And the way the ground went up with hysterical laughter when Kane and Ali got substituted, that was priceless.
Well, there was that moment, and we did talk about it, Al. It is strange times when your own substitution gets double booed and the opposition substitution gets massively
You're talking
cheered.
about Lacazette being removed, which people didn't want to see because they like Lacazette, they're warming to Lacazette.
But it wasn't really about
Francis
that, was
Coquelin
it? It
coming
wasn't
on.
about that. It was as much about Coquelin and the manager, and I did think it was a bit inappropriate. We were 2-0 up after 70 minutes. It's a defensive substitution, all right, it's not who you want it to be. What would have happened if it was Jack?
Xhaka was on the yellow.
We were saying we thought Xhaka would come. I did think, I mean, it is a bit out of order.
Xhaka was a red card waiting to happen in that
yeah,
game. And Coquelin's form has been absolutely
in
woeful.
the toilet, yeah.
And we have gone from, I mean, there's been a low and a high in the last couple of weeks. For those of us who were stupid enough to attend the Red Star Belgrade home fixture, lured in as we were by the arrival of a former great, one of the great names, perhaps the finest name of a football club in the history of the world, Red Star Belgrade, and they turned up, stunk the place out. Arsenal were absolutely woeful. And Coquelin in that game, it was like he was on a bet not to pass it to one of his own team. He looked absolutely awful.
I don't know why I find
and
it
Jack
so
Wilshere
funny.
didn't have much of a better game, but he's a much, much better footballer. And you're thinking the derby, he's bang up for it, he's Arsenal, right? And he just has to sit there and watch Coquelin go on.
There's a couple of things about this.
Why didn't Jack go on?
There's a couple. things about this. About 4 o'clock, you said, like, are you coming to the game tonight? And first of all, there's the indignity of the 8:05 kickoff.
You're talking about the Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah, you messaged me.
You didn't turn up, did you?
I didn't come.
Absolute white feather territory, that is.
Yeah.
You don't deserve Tottenham, my friend. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve to have been there. And the reason you don't feel it in the way that I do, the reason you weren't disorientated in Morrison's at 8 p.m. was because you didn't have the deep-seated reservoir of loathing for life itself that those of us who went through Red Star Belgrade 0-0 at home went
That's
through.
not the bit. I can feel your disappointment in the non-answered text. Are you coming to the pub? And I was like, I'm still working. Nothing.
Still
nothing.
working.
Like nothing.
Yeah.
Not a word. And then afterwards he pokes his head up on Twitter, just like, I feel so stupid.
I feel a fool for going.
I feel a fool for going.
Feel a fool for going. And someone did tweet and point out and say you might have missed a few games in the 80s. No, my friend, I did not miss any of those games in the 80s. No. But this is the first game since the 80s that was that bad.
It was terrible.
It was a shocker. A stinker.
And there must have
Was
been
it worse than Everton in a cold?
Oh, God, it was.
Was it worse than Everton in a cold?
At least that was a 2-2 draw. At least there was some stuff went on.
But nothing
I
happened.
remember Stephen Pienaar. To me,
Yeah.
he's like you
Actually
like
scored
Moussa
a great
Dembele. I like a more petite man.
The ground was
He
empty.
scored a little lofted. It was a lofted.
I've always quite fancied him. He's mine. All
fair
right,
enough,
you can have
all right.
Moussa.
I'll
I
have
quite like
Moussa.
Pienaar.
I mean, it
What
was.
about you, Keith? Which footballer do you think's really sexy?
Well, God, no.
Keith is still denying.
Well, have to be someone from the women's team.
Keith's still denying they kiss me. We'll come on to
Don't pretend you're interested in the women's
We'll come on to the
team.
Premier
You
in a
haven't
minute.
got the first idea.
We'll come on to the Premier in a bit, Al. I don't want to jump out of sequence, but do you remember who we met? Sophia, the lovely girl for Arsenal fan who we met.
What
and
are you
Keith,
on about?
there's a black girl that we met at the Arsenal 89
Oh,
launch.
yes, yeah.
A girl
I know
called
her.
Sophia. She calls
Oh,
herself
yes, yes.
Sophia on Twitter.
Yes.
Very lovely woman.
And Keith was like,
We liked her.
Keith was like, it was you, wasn't it?
It was her.
you.
It was
you
her.
back in '98.
It was her.
Who I kissed. It
I'm
wasn't
telling
Keith.
you,
It wasn't,
I've got a
it was
photo.
time.
It wasn't Keith. It was me.
wasn't
We've
you.
done that. Are we done with the derby?
No.
I know. Are we done with
We
the
haven't
derby?
mentioned that for a while.
I don't know. Are we done with the derby?
No, we are not done with it. No,
we can keep referring back to it.
No, because when this fella, I've known him a long time, he's a friend of mine, was going, what about how much did your forward line cost? I mean, how much did your forward line cost? So you can't resort to that. Because then I took the trouble, of course, to have a little look at Tottenham's transfer spending over the last few years. And in Pochettino's defence, he did not spend 25 million quid on Roberto Soldado, but Tottenham did. Or Soldado, or Soldad, or whatever it's called. And 22 million on Son, who only plays every now and then, and 17 million on Janssen, who was rubbish, and 30 million on Lamella, and I don't know is he injured or what's happened to him, and
Lamella's
30 million
injured.
on Sissoko, and people who really... They have wasted a lot of money. They haven't done very well, and the fact that we've bought 3 expensive forwards who turn out all to be world class, that's terrible management, isn't it? But I'm delighted they all turn up on the day. The issue now is how many of them are going to be here next season, and principally today, Mesut Ozil's being linked with a move to Barcelona. Any thoughts?
That I feel a lot better about him going to Barcelona than the other terrible option, which was him going on a free to
Manchester
United, which is as hideous as it
Because
sounds.
that becomes suddenly from buying them and having them at the club being excellent management, letting them run their contracts down and go one to Man City and one to Man United. That's like your head blowing off management, isn't it? That is. I mean, really, I don't know how the shareholders meeting would go then with the chips pretending that was a good idea. I have no idea.
The trouble with old people when they cling on too long, like Robert Mugabe, we've got. Eventually, they have to go. And I think with our management team, they have to go.
If you told me that Robert Mugabe was going to go before Arsene, Arsene was going to outlast.
We ain't out of the country
Mugabe.
yet.
So what is it? Are we on? Is it the Wenger media meltdown now? Is that where we need to go to now? Because the Mugabe.
No, what's going to happen with them two boys? Are they going to stay at Arsenal or not?
Absolutely not. But I think Arsene sounded.
Not even Mesut?
No, Arsene Wenger sounded like he knew they were going to go because he was asked, does a win like this change? Could it change the impression of the club with your 2 star players? And he said, I don't think I've been around long enough to know that a game like this isn't going to make any difference, which is very defeatist for him because he does normally come out with the same story, but I believe they will stay, but he didn't come out with that. I think he knows. I think we all know that they're gone. I think we're gone. And the only reason why
Ozil might stay because of his expensive house.
Well, exactly. The only reason Ozil might stay is because someone else doesn't want him, which is why now it's quite interesting that Barcelona have come in because. Alexis Sanchez.
They've come in because Coutinho's now gone up to £400 million.
Right. So Alexis is
500 million.
Alexis is a hot mess, and he's going to go to Man City. And I mean, Alexis must be fuming looking at De Bruyne, like putting out chances like that for a laugh, and he must be thinking, I could be doing this, but whether it's start or not is another thing. But I think it's more. I mean, Alexis is almost certainly gone, and Mesut Ozil will only stay if somebody doesn't or can't buy him.
Then the point of the matter is, right, if they go and they go on a free or they go at cut price in January, we've got to buy big.
Not January.
It depends what they offer.
It can't be January, Keith. It can't be January. They can't go to the end of the season. I think by the time you enter a contract, by the time you enter the last season...
With Manchester City putting a big bid, though.
But by the time you've entered the last season, you've just got to commit yourself to saying they're going to run out their contracts and leave. It is an absolute white flag of Van Persie proportions again.
I know
if they leave in January and stay in the Premier League. If they leave in January, then there's Arsene Wenger, who has got the thickest skin going, cannot come out. They can't come out the tunnel if they go to one of our Premier League.
Mourinho would take Ozil just for fun.
Yeah, he'd do it. Of course he would.
For the laugh. I don't want him, but
he'll upset the Arsenal fans.
Wenger wants him, right? And he's Wenger's player, and he's running it, so we just have him, right?
And he'll sell us for He'll sell us for Laney as well.
Funny. Let's have him. No, we took Fabregas to Chelsea.
Don't mention the Fabregas thing. He's so good.
You watched Fabregas play against West Brom.
Fabregas has gone back to being Luke Skywalker.
Did you see him playing against West Brom?
Yeah, he's gone back to being just amazing.
I mean, sometimes I look at him and I'm like, how do you...
Sometimes you cry every time you mention him.
Every shot he plays, you know when a golfer is in a bunker and he does that slightly unusual, slower swing. It's a little bit softer because he's got to get it out of the sand. Every shot, every pass Fabregas plays is like that. He sort of lazily swings his leg and sort of feathers the ball. It doesn't matter if it's going 5 yards or 70. His timing is so sweet. You know that he could play with a tennis ball and still pass every ball.
I still haven't recovered from that Schürrle, the Schürrle pass.
I put a thing up saying, in response to Stoney, right, about... Fabregas not signing was an act of actual madness at the time when we had Flamini and Arteta and Thomas Rosicky absolutely on his last legs, and someone sent me a tweet going, "Oh, that's bollocks," and a bit of hostility. But I think no, really, I really mean it. He would have been a major asset for us over the last 3 or 4 years. A major asset in midfield, especially with what turned out to be a shocking, harrowing injury to Santi Cazorla. I don't know if you've been reading any of that.
I've seen the photos.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. So the nicest man in the world, a massive talent, going through that. I mean, really, it's awful. So, I mean, I hope he gets better soon. I really do, because I miss him a lot. Just miss watching him. Just miss what a talent he is. And hopefully he comes back. But in the absence of that genius, there was another genius, and we will let him go to our rivals. It's unbelievable management. Anyway.
Well, no, it is a fundamental, though, because if you look at what we got now, and you look at Coquelin, and you look at El Neni, and then you go Fabregas, it's a ridiculous decision.
I like the way
should never have made that.
Keith, I like the way Alan said, anyway, as if he's just brushed it to one side and got over it.
I never will.
Wasn't 5,
you know, it's one of my all-time favourite footballers.
I do know that, but with good reason.
And it's one of the all-time great Arsenal midfielders.
That pass, do you remember, because it was after he left, almost the first televised game back in Chelsea's when the air kind of got heavy and the world slowed down, and he did that pass to Schürrle, which is still one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Ball at Burnley.
Oh,
but
what was most amazing was even in that crowded final third at Turf Moor, where famously there is no space for man or beast, and Sean Dyche's principal talent is he's able to give you about as much oxygen as Sandra Bullock had
something we'll find out
in
this
Gravity,
weekend.
right? Yeah, there is no oxygen in Turf Moor in the final third. Good luck breathing in there. And there he was, standing about in space like God's chess piece playing that ball. Anyway, he had a wonderful game against West Brom. Tony Pulis, R.I.P.
What a shock.
Can we have a minute silence?
I understand.
Okay, couple of seconds then.
He's had to take off the penis hat. But if anyone thinks he's going to be out of football for long, think again. I mean, he is going to find a job.
Can I actually make a very brief stand in...
And by the way, he should be the next Wales manager.
Can I make a...
shout?
No, Thierry Henry's going to be the next Wales manager. Do you hear that one?
Really?
Tony Pulis. Tony Pulis made an incredible statement on Friday. Tony Pulis has known he's going to be sacked for ages, right? And he stopped caring a while ago. And his interview after the game...
Have you taken my bottle of wine?
I borrowed it, yeah.
No, give it back.
It's like Hobo Wars.
You've emptied it. Absolutely emptied it.
I emptied it.
Hobo War.
It's just like watching two down on outs. You take my wine. You've emptied it. Give us it here. All we need is a barrel with some flames coming out of it. We're sitting by the Thames.
Keith, can I ask you your personal... I'll talk about Pulisic. Can I ask you your personal highlight of the weekend's derby match?
Ooh, well, I tell you what, actually, apart from winning 2-0, I believe the score was, I met one of our young players who's yet to break into the team, a young Polish guy called Christian Bilek. You know Lucy, who sits in front of all the young bloods?
Yep.
Yes.
A really nice guy. And you just think, oh, God, I hope you make it as a footballer. And, he's going to be a centre-back. I think he's been on loan to Birmingham a few times.
Right.
And I just thought... And he was just so polite, and you just think, yeah, I want you to be in our,
They're all down the front of Block 32, the youth players.
That's right,
yeah. See them quite often.
And it's interesting because
that was your highlight of the day.
It was because he was so. I just thought
meeting Bielik. That was
meeting Bielik. Yes, it was.
It's not what.
Well, apart from winning 2-0.
And how did that Derby win rank in the firmament of Derby victories?
Oh well, I don't. It's definitely.
Could I put it to you?
Yeah.
Before the game.
Yeah.
The game that came to mind for me was a game that I remember well, and you probably do well, was when Mickey Hazard was playing for Tottenham.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a brilliant game against Arsenal, and Tottenham won 3-1, and he scored twice, I think. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
I thought that might happen.
Oh, listen, I was not looking forward to it.
I was sort of glumly predicting 2-1, hoping it wouldn't be a draw, because who wants a draw in any game? But, mate, thinking it might go 1-3. That game did.
Yeah, well, I wasn't looking forward to it because, everything in the press, everything, this pendulum has swung the other way, blah, 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 and you're thinking, well, Tottenham have got to be up for this because they're they're going for the Premiership.
Yeah.
And, well, I just thought we're on a downer, we're going to get done. But we turned up.
And we did turn up. Yeah. It was epic.
2-0. Who knew?
Well, who knew it meant so little to you?
I didn't realise. I mean, I think my highlight was like walking up to the game. There was a lot of noise going on beforehand, and having been so defeatist about the whole thing, I went to yoga that morning, Keith, to try and.
I had a rare Polish builder, but.
I went to yoga to try and calm myself down, and you've got this, as you know, Keith, you normally finish yoga in a position called Shavasana, where you're
of course,
just relaxing.
Yeah,
and you're supposed to relax, empty your mind, and be very mindful, concentrate on your breath. And all I could think about was two things: was Coquelin going to play centre half? That was the first thing, and just how good was it going to be, that feeling if we win? Because it's like we got this lunchtime kickoff.
Which we normally never turn up at.
Which normally never turn up at. The whole story is about how good they are, and so on. And I'd walk myself into this corner that it was just, let's get it over with, let's get that draw, and let's get out of here. So I haven't lost too much face, because, we put ourselves...
never thought that this team could be up for it. And I'll tell you why you didn't think it could, because... Watford away, because we dominated the game at Watford. We were goal up, could have been 2, could have been 3. As soon as they equalised, instead of all thinking,
you knew,
hang on a minute, what's going on? Why have we collapsed like this? We should this is embarrassing. Have a look round at one another, say, come on, let's go and win it. They shouldn't be level. Instead of that, they just retreated backwards and backwards.
You knew.
And then they had Troy Deeney taking the piss out of them in the papers.
But you know what, Al? It's like just coming over the bridge, it's suddenly... And you hear them not chanting away, and Arsenal fans are up for it. I mean, we know how quiet. We know how quiet it is at the Emirates. But you had this feeling just coming up there. Suddenly, it was so. It was like, I mean, it hasn't not been fun for ages, right? Chelsea 3-0 last season was, I think, the last time that I had a really good time at the game.
You felt a good atmosphere outside the ground.
The atmosphere outside the ground was brilliant.
And it was a good atmosphere from
really
the kickoff.
Good, and really good from kickoff. And I felt comfortable when we were in there, very surprisingly so. And then you ask yourself why. But I hadn't realised until afterwards that it's 2014 since we've had that feeling against them. That's them lot. What are we doing waiting 3.5 years?
And Xhaka and Ramsey did well.
Xhaka.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think that generally speaking, that the new fitness regime and the new coaching
I think
style,
something has changed.
Do you think, because Ramsey, who in the last couple of years has had I don't know if the glass hamstring is the right phrase, but he has been prone to a pull, right? He's been prone to a soft tissue injury. He looks like an absolute monster at the moment.
There was that run.
He still does a little turn when you wish he wouldn't. He doesn't always take the simple ball. He played a beautiful pass
do you remember that
inside the
run?
fullback.
Do you remember that run that we were getting excited about?
Tell you, I'm nearly at the end of the sentence. It won't take me long. I promise you, it really won't. You may think it's not worth hearing, and you won't be alone. But I'm going to get there. He played a lovely pass inside the fullback for Bellerin. Do you remember that ball? And he was still busting the gut when we were trying to score on the break late in the game. Every time he was there. Every time. He is fit as a fiddle. Maybe they all are. Maybe that has worked out.
Well, this is the first season where we haven't picked up about 5 injuries before the season
We don't seem
starts.
to have calf strains, hamstring strains, all that sort of
Yeah, and they'll be back in 3 weeks, which we know is a bloody lie.
Yeah.
And apart from Giroud, we don't normally how often have we got used to the international injuries, which we haven't really had as well. So there does seem to be a manager.
Is it kind of in my imagination, or do you feel like that they do look strong? I mean, listen, that was a Tottenham game where Tottenham was supposed to turn us over, and it's a shift of power and whatever. It was annoying in a lot of ways that they all turned up for that game and they didn't turn up at Liverpool away and they didn't turn up at Watford away and they weren't that good at Stoke away. I mean, really, it was annoying. And it was very annoying to see Coquelin at centre-back at Man City, and it was an inevitable defeat despite the decisions. So, really, there's been all kinds of mess going on. But they all tipped up on the day. It was the first 11, right? That seems to be the first 11. It's the first time for a couple of years where I think he knows what his first 11 is. And Nacho Monreal's still in it.
That was the
fair play to him. He's hung on to that berth. The 3 at the back suits him perhaps better than any player because he doesn't have to play fullback anymore, and he knows what his job is. And the one thing you can't criticise him for is he does want to do well.
Although
he does want to do well.
If I am going to criticise him, there was
I know the bit you're going to mean.
I went mad. Didn't I? I was screaming in your ears. 72nd minute. He's over. 72nd minute. 2-0. Our left back stroke centre half is overlapping.
Yeah,
doesn't get the ball given to him, and he's screaming away, going, "Why don't you pass to me?" And I'm screaming back at him because you're the kid left back.
Yeah, but what about? I mean?
So there was that.
About in terms of old Nacho? And I'm trying to be nice about Nacho because he's done well as the left-sided centre back all season. He's tried hard, and we've had some defeats, and he's played his part in those. But the highlight of my Nacho season so far is when he got the ball in his usual position away at Goodison Park, had a look down the wing, saw an acre of grass with an Arsenal player in it, turned round, looked at Per Cech and passed it to, was it Nias? Absolutely landed Per Cech in it. Cech took a touch, big mistake, and should have just cleared it, and then we ended up conceding the most embarrassing goal. Can you imagine if that goal had meant something? Can you imagine if that had been an equaliser or even a winner? Nacho has still got it in his locker. Fair play to him.
But a word for the defence. I mean, while we're here, we're at the back.
Mustafi
was astonishing.
First game back. I mean, just
there was one moment at the start of the game when Mustafi and Koscielny went for the same ball, collided, and Kane was in, and that could have been a goal, right? That could have been a goal. Maybe if Kane was 100%, it would have been a goal. And I thought, here we go, the Keystone Cops. But that didn't transpire, right? We got away with it, and that was their mistake. After that, they nailed it, and I really was impressed. And he made a couple of flying blocks that reminded you of the old days of the old '89 side, even, which we'll come to later.
I tell you what, I love is
but the 2004, just throwing yourself, the Keown thing, just throwing yourself.
And Koscielny really grew after goals. Well, Koscielny was so those little pumps that you do to yourself.
And the doorman, no one's getting in, is he? Your name's not on the list, mate. You're not coming in.
Yeah, you really should. Kolasinac should definitely play in one of those paramilitary leather jackets. He's a doorman. He's an absolute doorman. He should have a headset. Should always have an index finger in his ear.
Dark glasses.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wenger, what was that? He shall not pass. Yes, sir. He will not. Don't worry, he will not get into the penalty area. Your name's not down.
He's got a touch of the Pacha Herrera in Narcos about him as well. You know what I mean?
not
Not coming
watching
in.
it.
We
I'll
have
get back
lacked
to
a
you.
player like him for years. I mean, I just want a few more. I mean, I just love the
true,
fella.
isn't
He's
it?
massive, and that's what we need. But I need another
But
one.
Keith, do you remember in the old days when it was Nigel Winterburn or somebody like that? How many times was that last-ditch block, that last-ditch tackle, someone throwing themselves, Kevin Richardson and people like that? They all used to do it, and you took it for granted. And now it stands out. It stands out as a moment we go, oh, hang on a minute. That was a brave, ferocious, committed Arsenal defender. And that if they do that all season,
We've got to do it the
just
next
do
game.
that.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do that, because there's a lot going on at the top of the pitch. There's a lot of talent up there. There's a lot of good players. Just do that. Just be that organised and that committed. Mustafi has sometimes seemed a bit headless chicken, a bit, he's hot-headed, but actually maybe the derby suited him.
Definitely. I mean, there was one point where I was like, don't dive in, don't dive in, don't dive in. He dived in, he won the ball so cleanly. He was like, all right, fair
he
enough.
did one massive diving in the first half, though, didn't he? And they got a shot away. He's a bit sort of loony.
He's still
and the thing that's
trying to-
interesting to me about it is that Wenger puts him in the middle.
Yeah.
He doesn't put Koscielny in the middle to run it. He keeps Koscielny on one side. You think Koscielny's the captain, he's going to be the linchpin, he's going to be there in the middle. And sometimes when Mertesacker's there, he's the one who can read your mind, and he's always 3 yards ahead because he doesn't have the pace to actually, to take a chance, so he doesn't go out of position and commit. So he drops off and he kind of marshals things, and that's his role. Sometimes I think, does Wenger really know what he wants that middle person to do? Because when you're picking El Neni there, or Coquelin there, then you're asking, a bit like Tottenham did at the weekend, Eric Dyer was there, you're asking the player to step into midfield when you're in possession, right? To leave those two defenders behind and to go and be in the play. But when Mertesacker's there, that's not what you're asking him to do. So now with Mustafi, you're sort of between two stools. You've got a committed, tackling, heading, aggressive defender, but by no means a passer.
True, it's true, isn't it?
But Koscielny he likes, because Koscielny is, if Koscielny was Italian in the 70s, he'd have 250 caps, because this man, if you said to him, man mark, he would never leave you alone. And the nice thing about the back three, which works well for him, and works well for Tottenham too, actually, because it works well for Vertonghen, is you say to him, you can just go and follow him. You can go and follow him. If Kane goes over there, go with him. You don't have to worry about it.
And it really works for... it really works. I mean, you mentioned him, but it really works for Monreal. The word for him. I mean, we've all had our fun with him, but he's been a very consistent defender.
He knows what his job is.
This half position works for him.
It works for him. Because if you're the left back in an Arsenal back four, your job is to be the world's best left winger. That's your job, and you'll have no cover.
Absolutely,
the 4-3-3. I mean, I've knocked him right now because let's face it. He is absolutely never going to be at Kenny Sansom, Ashley Cole, Nigel Winterburn level. He just isn't. But he doesn't play left back anymore. He plays centre back, but not actually centre back. It's as you say, it's a half position where he's required to play left of a three, and he can do it.
Which means he works really well with a marauding tank.
And
like
you can't
Kolasinac.
fault his. He wants to do it.
Speaking of defending, just one word for how Lacazette defended from the front. I was quite surprised at that. I didn't know. I just wasn't expecting that. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to be so switched on. I was saying beforehand how much of he reminds me of the best.
You
bits
said
of
he was
Jermaine
a bit like
Defoe.
Defoe, and I said to you, I don't think Wenger would ever sign Defoe. He didn't sign Defoe,
No,
and
he
he sold right. He doesn't want a poacher. There has to be more to Lacazette, and because every forward that we sign turns up, and if they're not Thierry Henry. But this guy has really got something. He's constantly alert and on the move. His first touch is excellent. He's quick. And, doesn't he hit it? I mean, that finish against Stoke, which was a goal still, by the way, that was outstanding. He's a good player.
But do you think that's a reason why he didn't play him against Man City?
I have no idea.
That's ridiculous. Why he didn't play? He
I have
done
no
the
idea.
same mistake at Liverpool.
Because
He doesn't play him.
Did he
and
think
then-
he'd be a passenger? A passenger in big away games.
I
is the
think
question,
that in those games, both of those teams, City and Liverpool, are possession teams. There's going to come. It's very, very hard. We've seen it against Barcelona over the years. Even if you win the ball, if you're going to win the ball, you're probably in your own third when you get it off them, and they're all on you, and so you've got to pass your way, and you can't get out. And that is how Pep works. And Klopp's trying to follow it at Liverpool. You get into their half and you just suffocate them. And so I think that what he thought was we'll just go long in those games, away from home, against Liverpool and City. When we get trapped in, we're bound to. Their possession sides, we're going to concede possession. We're going to go long. And Lacazette is not the person, because he doesn't have the height or the ability in the air to be that target man. So in the end, he got sacrificed. And so there's a lot made about, his feet, but he is right? He is not... In the old days, it would have been a 4-4-2. It would have been Giroud and Lacazette, and they'd have smashed the league. They'd have smashed the league, like Alan Smith and Paul Merson. They'd have smashed it. We'll get onto that in a minute. This is going to be the longest podcast that you have ever listened to. If you're thinking they're going on a bit, turn it off now. Come back in about a week. We're going to get in a minute. We'll get onto the '89 film. We're not doing a separate. We're going to. Well, maybe we will. No, we won't. No. It's going to be epically, hugely long. So go and have a cup of tea.
They can always pause it. I mean, they can pause it, can't they?
Is that what people do? I don't listen to podcasts. I think they're just egotistical arseholes rambling on unedited. Don't know what makes me think that. Just a moment of clarity, moment of self-awareness. Blah, blah, blah. Sound of my own voice. What could be better? Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure everyone would love this as much as I do. We've got a new chief scout called Sven Hottentot, Mistletoe or something, and we've got him, Steve Rowley, whose last big discovery was Ray Parlour. I mean, that's unfair, obviously, but I feel sorry for Steve Rowley for two reasons. One, it's the end of an era,
it's not really
and also
it's
because
not really his time, is it?
Well, it's just that you've been there for 25, 30 years. Travelling all over the place to hundreds of matches, and you get to the end of that epic career. You've given half your life to Arsenal. You probably will get the Silver Cannon Officer chips and all that. And I mean, half a lifetime of committed Arsenal, and you finish it, and the lazy arsehole journalist goes, "The man who discovered Ray Parlour." And not that discovering Ray Parlour wasn't a great thing. It was, but I mean, come on.
It must be somebody other than.
So anyway.
So now I changed Mislintat.
Now we've got. Was that what you called him?
Yeah, I did ask.
He's come from Borussia Dortmund. He fell out with Thomas Tuchel, the highly rated.
So we can't get him as manager.
Bayern Munich wanted him, and now Arsenal have got him. So now the next Aubameyang, the next Lewandowski. Sadly, not Aubameyang or Lewandowski themselves.
I am told by a friend of mine, a German expert, a journalist called Kevin Hatchard, that is a very, very astute signing, very bright, and he's very thrilled for us. Wow. So watch this.
I wonder if he could go down to our academy that let Harry Kane go. I'd like to call that guy in and say, do you know the point of an academy is to find these golden nuggets? Certainly, yeah. Well, let's look at the last three we've let go.
It's a real sliding doors thing. But I have tried to think in brief moments, in slow moments, mostly in Shavasana Keith, about whether there's not that much lovable about Harry Kane. He's just not the kind of...
I'll take his goals. Anyway, we'd only have him for a couple of years. We'd sell it to Barcelona.
I can't do Harry Kane because I can't do my Harry Kane joke. I'm not allowed to do it. Not allowed to do it. No, you have to, if you follow me around Morrison's at 8 o'clock in the evening after 6 hours of drinking after a derby.
What a lovely sight.
I will offer it up for you, but I'm not allowed to.
I was about to say something in praise.
And rightly so.
I was about to say something in praise of Dele Alli, but at this point it is worth pointing out the fact that he's a diver.
Dele Alli
he dives. Then he dives some more. And then we should move on, but then he dives a bit more.
He's a cheat, and he's a nasty, spiteful little cheat. And you take him in a hole. But he was a massive disappointment against. So he isn't in the World Cup. Now, can we should, before we go on to talking about the '89 film and all that involves, Arsene Wenger responsible for the win of the weekend, or just a happy accident?
Well, no, he is. I mean, look, of course he is. Of course he outwit.
We doubted Mustafi. He turned up. We doubted Xhaka. Is he starting to show it? Starting to show it? Do you think that the Xhaka-Ramsey axis is a championship-winning axis, or are we going to finish sixth? Are we going to get to the end of the season and go 2-0 against Tottenham?
Well,
that was our best moment.
A few weeks ago, I would have said that Chelsea were going to falter and we would have nipped away fourth for that reason. But, I mean, watching Hazard at the weekend and watching Fabregas being Fabregas again, I wonder and I imagine that that's going to be a bit more difficult.
So you think we ain't finishing top four, basically, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and I don't think Xhaka's really the answer.
Are Liverpool going to finish top four? Because Liverpool...
Hell
really? Have you seen Salah and Mane?
I have seen Salah and Mane, but I've also seen...
why why Manchester City are offering 60 million for Alexis Sanchez, who's obviously bonkers, right? Missing out on these people, and Mourinho seems to have got off scot-free. Well, he hasn't, because it is mentioned from time to time, because they could have De Bruyne and Lukaku and Salah playing up front for Chelsea, right? And how have Chelsea saying we haven't got the players, we haven't got the squad, and they've done 45 million on Bakayoko, and they've let Loftus-Cheek, who was very impressive for England in the most diabolically dreary 0-0 draw I've ever seen in my life, apart from the Red Star Belgrade.
Yeah, part of the rest.
Seems to have all the physical attributes and perhaps even a better technique than Bakayoko. So I mean, there's other clubs making weird transfer decisions apart from Arsenal, aren't there? And there's some odd stuff going on around the league.
And none of them would want Granit Xhaka as well. So just go back to your original question. I don't really think
But I like him suddenly.
I don't.
Do you know why I like
I'm not
him?
having
He gave that interview about his father being arrested and beaten in prison. Do you read that?
Yeah, The Guardian. Yeah.
Oh, his father is a Kosovan and he was arrested and he said it was all right in prison until the beating started. And I said that. You look that interview up online. This is what that family went through, and the reason why they ended up in Switzerland, and the reason why him and his brother, he puts their determination to succeed down to their upbringing and what their father went through. Suddenly I was thinking, holy smoke, people's stories. This guy, but in the meantime, will you start heading it and can you run about a bit and stop going to ground, stay on your feet and don't take so long about moving the ball on. Have a look at a Fabregas video. But actually, on the day...
Maybe he was having a flashback.
It wasn't him who was in prison, it was his old man.
I dare say he was told bedtime stories.
I felt like at the weekend... Sissoko and Dembele and Ericsson didn't show up, and Ramsey... And Xhaka did turn up, and so did Ozil in a big way.
Ozil was fantastic. I mean, the whole kind of
do you think Xhaka and Ramsey are gonna?
Now we play Huddersfield next. That's the game.
No, Burnley.
Is it Burnley away?
It's Burnley away, and Huddersfield coming up at home not long after that. Right. Burnley away.
That's the one.
Suddenly,
that's the one.
Assuming epic proportions,
yes.
Right? Now, Jack Court is a Burnley holding midfield player.
We're joint on points with him.
Yeah, we are. Jack Court,
6 points,
and they got him from Swansea. Is he the son of Alan Cork or relative of Alan Cork? Anyway,
Alan Cork's son. Yeah,
right. So he went up to Burnley.
His middle name is Porteous.
Is it
really?
Porteous. He got into the England squad, right? And Gareth Southgate, and I've got Jack Wilshere bee on my bonnet the whole time. Gareth Southgate said, "I can't pick Jack Wilshere for the England squad. He's not playing for Arsenal in the Premier League. He can't get in the Arsenal team." Loftus-Cheek and Jack Cork and Ryan Bertrand and Joe Hart and quite a few other people who were playing for England couldn't get in the Arsenal team. The fact that Jack Wilshere's at this club is not a reason to leave him out, right? And when he has played, particularly away at Bate Borisov, and generally, he has shown he is a sensational football player and a much better player than most of those people who are in contention for places in the England squad. But anyway, that said, Jack Court scored a very good goal at the weekend. Burnley are an excellent side. Sean Dyche, for me, should be in the running for every big job that comes up, and I'm a little bit concerned that we might go under at the weekend. Are we going to win there?
Right. Well, no,
I don't.
No, yeses.
But you can't be confident about this team, Al. You can't.
Yeah, they're too Jekyll-eyed. That's the thing. We just don't know. We go a goal up, we'll win.
You go up there, it gets noisy. We saw it would be a Watford situation again. You go up there, it's a bit noisy. We missed a few chances. We dominate the game. They score. We go to pieces. You've seen that movie before.
You have to go there.
You've seen that
and
movie.
Look at them and say, we're Arsenal. All right? I don't care.
When was the last time
Arsenal.
we went up to anywhere and said we're Arsenal and rolled over a mid-table team? What sprung to mind?
Everton.
Yeah, that was... Yeah.
That was good. That was good. I don't understand the Ronald Koeman thing. I don't understand it at all. I mean, he looked to have all everything going on, everything you'd want from a manager, successful everywhere. And when we beat them 5-2, that was the first time, I think, ever that Wenger's got one over Koeman, who had the absolute Indian sign.
Oh, when he was at Southampton, they just done us every time.
There, but when he was a manager in Holland as well, we played them. So... we have to go there and win. I mean, if we go to Burnley and win, go 2 or 3 and play well and do it.
It's a good one. I mean, we're 11 unbeaten
It's
at
a
home.
good time to have that test.
We're 11 unbeaten at home, and without that, without
all the reserves will go to
away
Cologne.
record.
Yeah, we got to go Burnley and win. we've got to go to Burnley and win.
No, talking.
You know what's coming up after that, right? You know the game after that.
Yeah, United.
Yes, United.
And we know how that one goes. Is it at home?
Mourinho's going to go up.
Is it at home?
He's going to go up behind Ozil. He's going to put his hand in his short and he's going to tickle him on the perineum. And he's going, I will see you in July, Mesut. I will see you in July. Isn't that famously what didn't he do that to Fat Frank Lampard? Tickled him on the perineum in the showers.
That's a horrendous image.
He did. That was how he got it. He said to him, "You will be the best midfield player in the world." But when he did it, he was just tickling him on the perineum.
Oh no!
You've ended Keith.
Let's talk about forgotten men. What about wasn't there somebody called Theo?
Let's talk about.
Do you remember Theo?
There is
Theo Walcott.
There is no player in more deep freeze at the moment in time than Theo Walcott.
Buy him. He can't get in the team. He's on about 45 billion quid a week.
He can't get on the bench.
He can't get on the bench.
There's a Conservative
What are we
MP.
gonna do?
There's a Conservative MP ahead of him on the bench. Whether he's injured or not, we don't know.
Well,
I love the Conservative.
Theo Walcott will never play for Arsenal in the league.
Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
I love him. And I'm a little bit weary over the years of seeing promising English kids disappearing out of the club in favour of French boys. If Coquelin is not exited shortly and replaced in the squad by the Conservative, that is a bad choice. This is a two-footed, talented midfield player with pace.
What season was the Coquelin thing? When did that start? Was it
He had a good
2014?
game alongside Santi Cazorla away at Manchester City.
And everyone thought,
It's like Cazorla's minder. And he is aggressive in midfield.
And essentially, as we've seen prove before and since,
but you know
basically it's Cazorla. Cazorla makes anyone else
in
look
Coquelin's
good.
defence, however, I'm the one doing the attacking, but in his defence, he nearly had his first assist in living memory. I mean, he's had one or two, to be fair to him, but he put a ball over the top that Sanchez got in, and I thought that might have been a pen, when the Tottenham Hotspur's £100 million defender tripped him. I thought that was a pen. On the replay, it was like, he ghosted behind. One of those where they ghost behind the legs and sort of, did they clip them? They do that on purpose.
Really wanted one of those to go in. I thought Alexis was quicker than that. Do you know what I mean? He didn't accelerate away from when
he'd given himself a moment to stick it away and he got clipped. But he kept going. He's not a diver, Alexis. He's not. He'll throw himself to the ground in fury if he's been kicked about 8 times.
Can we put this Alexis Ramsey thing to bed, or is there still any room for that?
I don't mind them yelling at each other. I mean,
yell at
every
each other.
time
Pass.
Alexis yells at Ramsey, he's not wrong, is he?
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
It's where yelling.
If he's saying in Spanish, in Chilean Spanish, who do you think you are? Johan Cruyff. If that's what he's saying, then he's just echoing my own thoughts.
Ramsey did pull out a couple of really weird moves for that Derby game, didn't he? Like, he fell over a couple of times. He tried to do a couple of step overs on the edge of his own D, basically, and Alexis was giving him pelters.
Because he can't do it. He just do the simple stuff and you're good, but he just tries these Johan Cruyff moves and it doesn't come off and he looks bloody embarrassing. It's just...
So, okay, I think we've...
Can we talk about the Caribou Cup and the Eddie night? Because I was there.
Yeah, yes.
I was there.
No, I could not go to the Norwich City game because it was my wife's birthday.
No, that old excuse.
And as we were going to the restaurant on her birthday that neither of us wanted to go to, she said to me, if you could have gone to the football if you wanted to.
Trust me, you did not miss.
You really couldn't have done.
And I'm still here. I'm a free man.
Yeah.
I did nothing after that I could be arrested for. Just went and had a shine.
She lied to you like a cheap timer. You couldn't have gone to the football.
You chose.
You could not have gone to the football.
I think I have been to the football on her birthday in the past. I think when she says, please go to the football thing, it says something about your marriage, doesn't it? But yeah, Eddie Nketiah came on and scored with both of his touches.
Well, it was one of those games where Iwobi, Giroud and Theo decided they weren't going to turn up. So basically we were playing with 8 players.
Have you taken the wine again?
Oh, here we go. Hobo time. Hobo wars.
That's so what he's like. It's so him. Now he's taking a photo of me. If that goes on social media, I will absolutely glass you. Hashtag seconds before I was glassed.
Hashtag delete.
And welcome to the Meth Drinkers podcast.
This isn't meth. This is South Australian Shiraz.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Doubtless, it was. Here, he goes. Here, gives a Shiraz. Oh, look, mate. What a gives pass a Shiraz. That's what we'll all be drinking, watching the Ashes tomorrow night.
Anyway, so...
Anyway, Eddie and Ketty.
So, anyway, 3 of the senior players don't bother to turn about. El Neni should have been sent off. We go a goal down. It's looking like it's fizzling out with 3 minutes left.
Debussy gave a penalty away, weren't given.
Yeah. And, Norwich were looking good.
El Neni threw in a couple of
excellent.
El Neni threw in a couple of fantastic corners. Superb. But Eddie Nketiah's header...
But
the second corner for a really not a
Not
like
good
a kind
big.
of Ian Wright.
It was quite
player.
Ian Wright-ish.
That was
quite
a
Ian Wright-ish.
big jump, and that I mean the first one, both goals actually showed a real sniffer, a real 6-yard box predator, fox in the box, and all the rest of it. And he's one that Chelsea have let go. He's one of several.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
we got him off Chelsea when he was 14, 15.
I mean, they didn't show it on the highlights. He had a couple more chances. He could have got a hat trick, which is a real
So he
shame.
might be shit then.
No, he was unlucky. But the Caribou Cupper fans, they loved him. I've never experienced this outside the ground. They were still shouting his name. I don't mean one or two. I mean thousands were shouting his name.
Did you enjoy
I
the
think
Caribou?
his agent must be going, happy days.
Did you enjoy the League
I
Cup?
did enjoy it. Well, once we
You have
went
been one of
1-1.
you have been one of its strongest critics over the years, Keith.
No, I'm not. I tell you, no, certainly not.
That's not
me.
fair.
No.
We always go down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he always
We're always down for the League Cup.
and he always moans when he's there.
No, we're always down there.
We moan at the fans.
Carling Cuppers.
Standing
What
up.
was that game when we went and Yossi Benayoun scored?
Oh,
and we were
yes,
in a
Benayoun,
sea of
Benayoun.
yarmulkes. We were
Yes,
absolutely, and the whole block was Israelis.
Yeah.
And Yossi Benayoun scored, and
Like-
suddenly we were just swept away to Tel Aviv. It was the
We were
most
singing Happy
euphoric
Nagila.
moment,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
It was beautiful.
We've had some great moments, but also we have lost a few.
But we've got West Ham coming up. Let's hope this isn't David Moyes' turning point for us, because I'd like to see us do well in it. And I think what is a shame is that when you see these Caribou Cup fans, they really love it. And this is like their first time at the Emirates.
You know it isn't caribou, don't you?
What is it? I know, it's Carabao. I know it's Carabao. I like
Caribou
calling
is a moose.
I know it's a moose, but that's why I like calling it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right, I know it's called the Carabao.
It's the Moose Cup.
The Moose Cup. Do you know what? I bet it will one day.
It should be called the Moose Cup.
The Moose Cup.
Yeah, all right. I think we could go for the Moose Cup.
Yeah.
Do you think that the bizarre draw that took place, that was repeatedly delayed,
Why are they doing
and
this?
something was going on with China or whatever? Anyway, the Chinese are involved.
Of course, so it must be,
I don't know why I feel that's somewhat suspect. But the 4 big clubs.
Yeah.
Were separated in
I
the
know.
semi-finals,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't know. I'm
5 draws later.
I've been very dubious over the years. People have talked about warm balls and draws, and I've always thought that people are going about warm balls.
But on this occasion,
they need to have a good hard look at themselves.
Alan, if you're going down that route, you would have to suggest that somebody like FIFA and UEFA would be corrupt, and that is a totally scandalous and outrageous thing
What's
to
about
say.
the head of the Peruvian FA in the court case? Doing a slash in the throat gesture.
Oh, where was it?
I say this right before we get sued by the
we need to stay
country of Peru.
Yeah.
I'm misquoting an article I read in the Guardian.
Oh, right, okay.
Is that right?
We don't
Silent Chris has nodded.
never
He
upset
thinks-
Peruvians.
He thinks that might get through the lawyers. We haven't got any lawyers apart from Silent Chris is married to one, and she's got enough on her plate, which we won't go into.
She don't need Peru on her case, does she? You know, I mean, who does? But
Anyway, let's not talk about it anymore. Let's talk about.
about Cologne when the 20,000 Germans tried to sneak into the ground.
No, we're not talking about that anymore. We're not talking about that. We're going to talk about the '89.
Yes, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
In 1989, listener, Arsenal needed to win. We were 3 points behind going into the final game of the season away at Liverpool. We had 73 points, they had 76. And they had a superior goal difference by 2 goals. We needed to win by 2 goals because we knew that would be enough, because we had outscored them over the season despite being very boring. And we turned up at Anfield with only, noticeably, only 2 left-footed players in the squad. Only Paul Davis and Nigel Winterburn were left-footed. Paul Davis wasn't actually in the squad on the day. Unlike the current Arsenal team, which has about, Cech, Kolasinac, Monreal, Xhaka, Ozil and Wilshere, several left footers. Only Nigel was the only left footer in the team. This is not addressed to anyone in Northern Ireland. This is just a by-the-by observation. And we turned up there, needed to win 2-0, and we did. And it was perhaps the greatest night in any of our lives. And I don't care about having children or getting married or anything like that. It was much more exciting than any of those things. And I defy any Arsenal fan to tell me that the birth of their first child was more emotional, more exciting and more memorable. Or can you remember where you were? Or can you remember the precise details?
How warming this
More
will be for
than that. I
Alan's
can't
children
think
to listen to this in years to
the
come.
3 children I have and a lovely wife, you all know my wife's a lovely woman and the kids are great and, and there's so many memorable things have happened to me in my life. Obviously not in the early years where I was surrounded by massive CNX duties, but in my adult life. But that day in 1989, without a shadow of a doubt, was the single most significant emotional event of my life. And I shared it with Tom Connolly. Tom, hello Tom, out there. I haven't seen him for many years. And Damien Harris of this parish. The General. In his father's living room. And anyway, subsequently, many years later, Amy Lawrence, who is a friend of the podcast, and a couple of other people got together and said we could do a documentary about this, and they called it 89, somewhat unimaginatively. They could have called it Bad Luck Liverpool, but perhaps that would have been unsporting. I don't know. John Aldridge wouldn't get off the grass when David O'Leary consoled him. What a miserable bastard. They could have called it that, but they didn't. They called it 89. And 89 was a significant year in the world. It was a significant year because it was the fall of the Berlin Wall. It was a significant year because of the Hillsborough disaster. It was a significant year for many reasons. And 89 is a number that rings, it resonates, right? So it's a good time. It's a good call. And the film is excellent. So they had a premiere and Amy called me up and they must have had someone fall out or drop out or whatever, and I ended up hosting a Q&A at the premiere with George Graham and a few of the old players. Very excited, Keith. Very excited. Could happily have just sat there all night. We had Lee Dixon and Michael Thomas and George Graham and who else? Tony Adams.
Tony Adams,
Was that it? Was that the whole panel? And Amy, of course.
Yeah.
That was the whole panel.
That was it.
And we did 2 of those because the 2 screens were full at the Holloway Odeon, and the whole night was an amazing experience.
In Goodfellas, like when
it's very similar to Goodfellas.
Well, hear me out. I'll tell you. You know where
that moment when Kenneth Dalglish gets buried.
you know the moment when Ray Liotta leads in, like they get a table at the front. She doesn't quite know what he does yet, so like they do the whole, it's an amazing Scorsese sequence. It's a really long, very famous shot where she walks in.
They go through the kitchen. Why are we at the front?
He's like saying hello to everyone like that, and then just at the end of the sequence, like she like turns her head around, and it's just a really dizzying moment. It's a really dizzying. That's how I felt at the thing. Like, over there is Michael Thomas. Yeah. Over there is my hero Tony Adams. Okay, yeah. So even though
when did TA become your hero? Ian Wright was in the building.
Well, let me finish. I'll get to the end. I'll get to the end of the sentence, Al, and then you can chip in.
All right. Bad luck, T. Turns out you can't.
Keith,
you were sitting next to my
listen.
Never mind wave your hand going, listen.
Let me get a word in.
Right, he's over there. Double Dave's
You haven't thought about your point in advance.
I have actually.
It's going to take another 40 minutes before it arrives. We might as well just get to something that Keith thinks in the interim.
Listen, the whole point was it was just such a dizzying, brilliant night because there were so many legends there. But what I was going to say, even though that's actually been spoilt now by you being you over there, is that it was such a good laugh being there with our mates at this launch. Chris was there, Al was there, the other Al was there, the better Al was there, and it was just so exciting to be at the 89 premiere.
What I enjoyed, I was talking to Mickey afterwards, and I said, I know me and Mickey.
Mickey. That's what he used to say.
What is the cherry on the cake with his goal is the Brian Moore commentary. If you'd have shown that to a bunch of scriptwriters and say, right, watch this, come up with some commentary. No one would have got near what Brian Moore done that night. And he's doing it on the night, in the moment, and every single word is perfection for that Mickey Thomas goal. It's just beautiful. The whole...
I was nervous. I was nervous watching the film.
Thomas.
Yeah.
I was nervous.
That's
that we
what was good about it.
Charging through the midfield.
At 1-0. At 1-0, I was nervous. Do you know what
It's
I mean?
up for grabs now.
And then after that...
Thomas!
But they played it so
right at the end!
Really? But what they played it so well is because they then they restarted the play, and there was that whole thing about, and I loved it when Lee Dixon goes, if you haven't, I mean, there's no spoilers in this, obviously, when Lee Dixon goes about how Mickey Thomas takes the ball down and passes it back to Lukic at that point.
It's
fantastic. The way they do that, it's so well put together.
Do you think that they should have spoken to anyone from Liverpool for the film?
Wow, it's...
Yeah, but no.
Like secured an if they could have got John Barnes,
or
if they could have
I would have
got
heard from
Kenny
John Barnes
Dalglish,
or Kenny Dalglish, but anyone else can
or
get
Peter
to
Beardsley,
get to
Steve McMahon.
Would have been nice.
If they could have got Steve McMahon, doing the 1 minute. How did you feel at the moment? Do you think it would have improved the film? Or because it was a big call to make. They made the film is going to be about this team, what they achieved together.
Well,
I think the
you could
film
have it in the
holds
director's
up.
cut.
I think I've watched a few of those 30 for 30 documentaries, that are usually on ESPN documentaries, right?
Yeah.
And loads of them are about American sport. I didn't used to. I've always loved baseball. I never used to be into gridiron until Friday Night Lights. And recently, Last Chance You, holy smoke, I'm an absolute addict, right? So now suddenly I'm very interested in that. And I can't quite get into the NBA, but obviously I was as mesmerised by Michael Jordan as everyone.
Guys, yeah.
Well, yeah, amazing, right? And the baseball. So that documentary series, they can show you a sport that's not your sport. You don't really know all the rules, you don't really know what's going on, but they somehow get you into the personalities and the characters and the emotion and what people, what they're going through, right? You know what they're going through. When they miss in the last minute and they lose and everyone's crying, you think, yeah, I was in Paris in 95. Yeah, I remember Valencia in 1980. I remember West Ham in 1980. I remember Luton. I remember Birmingham. I remember losing games. I know what that feels like. And I do feel like they've achieved, with 89, they've achieved something that's worthy of showing in that 30 for 30 slot. And that, to me, that is high praise, right? Because this is not easy to do. This is very much... In a way, it's a one-club thing. It's Arsenal overcoming the odds. But because the Liverpool story was so emotional that season, because it incorporated the Hillsborough disaster, because the whole thing was unusual and it was isolated on its own at the end of the season, and it was a big turning point in football, right? It was a big turning point away from the terraces and everyone being treated like animals and scum, which they were. We all were in the 80s. Everyone was. And that culminated in Hillsborough. And then it was a kick forward into what football could become. The Premier League, whatever you think of it, one way or the other, it was a big change. But that night, at the point when football was really a low ebb, that night did show what great sport could be, what great football could be.
To answer your question,
and the films captured it all, I think.
I was going to say, to answer your question, I was 14 in 1989, and I know what a tragedy it was. Of course I do, because I think, of course, we all did. I was 10 in 1985 when the Bradford thing happened, and you knew what the tragedy that was. But I think, to answer your question about whether we should have heard from a John Barnes or a Kenny Dalglish or whatever, I think it's covered so well in the film, and I think the emotion comes across not almost more, because of course it's not more, but you get the emotion from the fact that you can feel it so strongly from an Arsenal point of view, third or fourth hand, from, as I say, from me being, so young at the time, not only, Lee Dixon's in tears talking about it, you speak about it with so much emotion, and the emotion comes across almost, as I say, more so because you're looking at it from an outsider's point of view. So
but I tell you what,
that's a very good point.
It's the small little things in the film that I never knew about that happened in 89. The things with George Graham, you see him at the end trying to calm the players down when we've got the second goal, and he actually said, I didn't know what I was doing.
Flowers.
Everyone thinks I'm in control.
When Lee Dixon talks about the flowers, that is a really, really poignant moment.
And I gave an interview for the film, and there's a couple of bits of my interview that are in the film. And of course, everybody who's interviewed in the film was interviewed about Hillsborough. And for everybody, it's very, very difficult. And as a fan, I was on the terrace at Highbury on that day, and it's the most shocking and horrendous thing. And of course, you notice that after Hillsborough, the one thing that fans who were around in the 80s all noticed when you look at footage is there are no fences. There are no fences anymore in any game anywhere after that day. And those fences were the work of the absolute devil. And you're right. I think it's a good point you make, T, that you get the horror of what happened and the terrible sadness and the emotion of what happened through interviewing players from a club who were 200 miles away.
Yeah.
And if you try to speak to Kenny Dalglish in particular, who went to so many funerals,
all the funerals,
and Barnes and everybody, that how could they be asked to talk about it?
And I
the
think
football game for them was kind of neither here nor there.
And they do that really well. And I think as well, as I say, as a 14-year-old fan in 1989, which these kind of things. Like any war zone, any story like that happens over there. You do feel the emotion of it, but it is happening over there, and that's the kind of disconnect you feel as a sort of a teenage fan who wasn't there at the game or whatever. But just seeing the terraces, seeing the cages that football fans are put up in. You go back, you mentioned the 30 by 30 thing, and the only reason why I mention that now is because you've got this feeling of sport as a universal emotion that you don't need to be there to understand the kind of gravity of it, and just seeing those cages and seeing what fans used to have to go and put up with in the mid-80s.
We all did.
In the mid-80s. Well, you say, but this is the beauty of it. No, I say beauty. Beauty is the wrong way. You say we all did. I didn't. Chris didn't. We're not the age that you guys are.
Only because you were younger, but you would have done.
That's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. So to sit there, for me, watching it, and to see it writ large on the screen like that was really, really powerful. And seeing the impression, as you say, of fans from 200 miles away, from players whose club it wasn't, and we all know we can all kind of catch up with it now. That was a really, really powerful moment for me. The other really super powerful moment in the film, I mean, God love him, of course, if anyone's going to make us all kind of well up, it's always going to be Righty, isn't it?
No spoilers. No spoilers. If you haven't seen the film, 89 is available for download and DVD, and there is a website, and sorry Amy Lawrence and everyone involved, but I can't remember what it is, but it won't take you long to find it.
89thefilm.com.
But there's a website if you get enough of you together in your town, and you can get it screened in your town. I know they've managed that in Belfast and the one or two other towns. As an Arsenal fan, it is essential. It's unmissable. And I was a bit cheeky during the Q&A, saying to George Graham that this was a team that was basically more than the sum of its parts. That was the whole thing about it.
And as he said, this was a young team, a very young team as well. People forget about that.
They were young, and they were young, and they were going right into the heart of the beast. Right?
They'd never lost. They'd never,
and I did feel as though they were more than the sum of their parts, and it was they were. Hang on, T's found something. It's gone on the internet.
I was going to say, if you want to try and get the screen for yourself, it's www.rscreen.com, and 89 is a film. That's how you can bring it to your own. That's how you can bring it to
the wine again.
I was talking about the wine.
It's unbelievable. That's not them always talking about the wine. It's just it's always next to you.
Did you like the music, Keith?
Actually, I did, and I was surprised when your name came up. Actually, that doesn't sound... No, that came out wrong, didn't it? No, it was really good. I was really enjoying it. I enjoyed the whole night, mate. I mean, what wasn't
there
so
was
like?
Me, right, everyone's leaving at the end, clapping and crying of the film, and there's only me, like probably the smallest person in there, trying to film my name on the credits like that, and there's people...
Tyler cleared the music for the film. Do you think, and I talked to Amy Lawrence a bit about this, and we did the Q&A, and they needed someone to ask the questions and host it. And I was very privileged to be in that position with all my heroes, my absolute heroes, George and Tony and the whole lot of them. And Amy kept saying, I don't feel like I should be here. I'm an interloper, I'm an imposter. I was going, Amy, you've done this.
Put the damn thing together.
You've done this. You've made this happen. I said, you're a journalist, what should I ask them? And she said, ask them why football was so much better then. And I don't know. I know what she means, and I agree.
I don't agree.
Because what I remember about Georgie Graham's magic, he wears a magic hat, and when he saw the FA Cup, he said, I'm having that. Wenger's 3 years, for 3 years, under Wenger, when we did the double in 02, won the league at Old Trafford, should have done the double in 03, blew it, Vieira was injured, whatever, didn't happen. But the response to that was to go unbeaten in 04, which arguably wouldn't have happened if they hadn't blown it in 03. Won the cup in 03, by the way. That 3 years, that was an amazing football team, up there with the greatest football teams in the history of club football. I do not care who you are. Talk to me about it, right? Unbeaten away from home in 2002, unbeaten throughout the season in 2004. I doubt it will be repeated. Maybe Pep Guardiola, with £400 billion worth of Arab oil money, will pull it off this season. Well done, Pep. But we're talking about a side that was put together without big transfer fees, without, Colo Touré cost 250 grand or whatever. That was a special side. But still, even that, to me, the 89 going up there, 87 the League Cup, beating Tottenham away, winning it in 91, only lost one game, really, and that was a sensation, and built on a side that was half Arsenal youth team players. It was special time.
Yeah, look, I mean, they were our team. It was a club team, and the fact that you hear things in the film where the players were still connected to the fans more closely. They didn't win up in Anfield and suddenly get in an helicopter and fly to Biarritz.
True, but that much is true, Keith.
Yeah, they went to a club and knocked around with Arsenal playing
that much is
playing
true.
pool.
Yeah, that much is true, Keith. But you said the real thing there. It's like you said that was our team, and that was your team because of the age and how you guys were travelling over the time. And what is a real problem for me, obviously sort of living on social media as I shouldn't, is when you get this kind of hierarchical thing put in about just from when your date of birth is. Of course that was your team, and of course football was different then. But if you were 17, or if you were, for example, 23 when we won the league in 98, then that's your Arsenal team.
Yeah. No, I mean,
our
community.
No one's knocking the 98 team. Don't even get me started on the 98 team.
You see the point I'm making?
No, I'm saying our community. They came from London. They weren't bought in. I mean, I'm not knocking all the other teams that have followed them, but there's something because there's a closeness.
You're not the people.
I think it's a good point that the film does not dwell on that. And it isn't made, a big thing is not made of it, that the only player on the pitch who was not from Britain or Ireland was Bruce Grobbelaar. And we had, apart from David O'Leary, all English players, right? And they had their 3 or 4 Irish lads in the side. One of them was Aldridge, who wasn't Irish, right? So, so there was very much a British and Irish thing. And also at that time, because of what happened in Heysel in 85 and because of the ban, and it's worth pointing out that the ban wasn't just because of Heysel. The ban
there's loads of previous.
We'd gone back a decade, right back to Leeds in 75.
And all the World Cup stuff.
There'd been a decade of trouble, right? So it'd be wrong to just say we weren't in Europe because of Liverpool. It's some...
No, it's all loads of
we were. So it was very, very local. It was local business. There was no sense that the league was anything to do with anyone else in the world. But you still had the suspicion, didn't you, that the world was watching and looking, because this was a thriller. This was an absolute thriller. I will say about the film itself that there's good footage from the more commentary, but they've got a couple of low-angle touchline cameras, and they've found some footage of real high-impact challenges, and they've done a great, and see, I'm looking at you because this is your area, and they've done a great sound mix of some impacts of players, some impacts with the ball, and they've created the atmosphere of what it meant to be. There is anyone who thinks that Liverpool didn't turn up on the day and weren't up for it and somehow bottled it needs to have a little bit of a look, because this was a ferocious fixture. This was really hard.
And what really came back to me watching this as well, as I say, what came back to me was that the state of the pitches. John Barnes was an absolute superhero at the time. It was an absolute.
He should have played for Arsenal.
And he should have played for Arsenal.
He should have played for Arsenal. He wanted to play for Arsenal.
John Barnes
wouldn't pay the money, would we, Keith?
John Barnes is my
ever
hero.
Felt that
never
feeling?
Played for Arsenal.
Wouldn't pay the money. Keith, every time I see Keith these days, it goes to me. Higuain scored again. Wouldn't pay the money. Barnes was the first. Wouldn't pay the money. Wouldn't pay the money. Right? They paid $900,000 for it.
It's the history of our club.
And we ended up couple of years later, he paid $800,000 for Brian Marwood, who was terrific, terrific, brilliant for us.
John Barnes was
But
something
No
else.
John Barnes. Never going to win Footballer of the Year. Never going to win 50, 60 caps for England.
The other thing that came back to me watching the film is that I didn't quite realise or remember just what a lead that we'd blown in that month.
God, we should have been celebrating 2 weeks previous.
Yeah, the Derby defeat, the Wimbledon defeat,
draw
against Wimbledon, wasn't it?
Nigel Winterburn's right-footed screamer. Yeah, we did. We blew it.
It was really interesting watching. Sorry, it was really interesting watching when you were doing a Q&A, Al. After you dug me out walking in, cheers for that. But when there was
you're always late.
I tell you what, he's interesting.
It's a miracle you didn't come in on a skateboard. I wish you had.
But no, the Michael Thomas and George Graham, because they were sitting next to each other, weren't they?
Yeah,
that was quite interesting.
The highlight of my evening. No, it's not the highlight of my evening. The highlight of the early part of the evening for me was, I was absolutely in heaven. I was in heaven all night. This is my side, right? I was 23 years old.
This is his Goodfellas analogy, isn't it?
This is my side. This is my... really, I just loved every member of that team. They were just fantastic. I love Rocky. I can't speak about him without welling up. Merson, who it turns out was an absolute idiot of the first order, but what a footballer. What a footballer. And I absolutely loved them. And Amy came to me and said, the PR people want to do a photo on the red carpet with everyone who's in the film. And I said, all right, well, I'll just wait. And, I've got a couple of things ready for the Q&A. And she goes, no, that means you. And I said, well, I'm only in it for 2 minutes. She goes, no, you, Nick Hornby, and come down. No, I'm going to be in it. No, I don't want it. So we went down, and suddenly we're in the squad. We're in the squad. Me, Lawrence, and Hornby are in the squad. And the banter was just lovely. But proper lovely. Really made me laugh. And the Mickey Thomas does not want to be... The thing you do notice about the film is that a few of them are bright, that you can tell... Dixon has got a media career, and so Smith, and Winterburn has to an extent, and they're all good talkers and all that. Rocky's not there, obviously, of course. Merson's inevitably missed it because he's got a paid speaking engagement somewhere, and that absolutely sums Merce up in a nutshell. But I'm down there, and they're all there, and there's Mickey, and they're lucky to... Amy Lawrence told me they nearly didn't get Mickey Thomas.
They spent ages.
They could not persuade him to come. He's not the sort of person who would... He's not the kind of person who would be a pundit. Yeah. He's not that sort of a bloke.
No, he's very honest.
He's standing next to me. You sat next to him during the film. Yeah. He is funny. He was funny. He's standing next to me doing this photo shoot. I'm creeping out of it as much as I can because I felt embarrassed to be there, but at the same time thrilled, right? And he's also creeping out of it. I think, this is you. This is your actual film. Yeah. This should be called the Michael Thomas Goal, this film. 89's a good time, but it's you. Get up the front. And Perry Grove says to me, I can't even George. Nah. All the way through the film, you'll like it when you watch it. If you haven't seen it already, is that Paul Merson keeps saying things like, to win at Anfield, to win by 2 goals, nah. Ain't gonna happen.
Is it Merce? Or is it Merce or Winterburn? Who, by the way, is the star of the movie. Winterburn does a great job in it, doesn't he?
Good.
Who is it who goes? He could sleep on a clothesline.
Could sleep on a clothesline. Mercer said that about Thomas.
That's brilliant.
So I'm trying to get him to go, and Perry goes to me. He hates George. Him and George never got on. He never give him enough money, and they're all about George being tight, wouldn't give him any money. And then Adams told a story. Tony Adams,
God, I could have cried.
You're God, right? Told this story about a training session where George Graham's making them do press-ups, and Mickey Thomas is on the ground doing press-ups, and he's in the up position, and Graham's going, no, do more, and he's, I ain't going down, ain't doing no more. So he's still in the up position. And those of us who remember Mickey Thomas coming through the youth team, he come through as a left back, even though he was right-footed. Remember him being basically a slab of muscle, right? And Adam said George Graham was kneeling on his back to try and make him do a press-up. And he wouldn't do it, right? Anyway, eventually we managed to push Mickey forward to George, who's now 77 years old.
Still looking good?
Yeah, still looks great and still super smart and articulate and remembers it all. So Mickey's there. Suddenly Mickey's there with him. And then in the film, there's a little bit where you can see them going, "Don't go, Quinny, don't go, Quinny." Perry Groves is very chatty. He's a fantastic bloke, right? He goes, yeah, Quinny was going to go because they weren't giving him enough money, and that's what that's all about.
Oh, and it does sick.
That's what that's all about. And Alan Smith, who gives a good interview in the film, alluded to it. He goes, "We all thought that the only reason George wanted to move out, Kenny Sansom and Tony Woodcock and Graham Ricks and Charlie Nicholas, who were all brilliant, because they're on too much money." And it turns out, no, it weren't just that. It weren't just that they were on too much money.
Yeah, good replacements.
And they weren't going to do what he said.
Yeah.
They weren't going to buy into it. They weren't going to listen to him. They had this amazing amount of talent. Maybe they had a bit too much attitude. Maybe they,
Yeah, there's culture.
It's
going
not
on.
right to tar them all with the same brush, because they were all at different times. Sansom, oh my God. I mean, what a fullback, what a left back, what a footballer. Graham Ricks was an absolute hero. Tony Woodcock was a brilliant striker for Arsenal and England. And Charlie Nicholas, I mean, all right, he was a bit of a playboy and whatever.
Oh, well, yeah.
But we loved him, right?
He loved scoring against Tottenham.
We loved he scored so many goals against Tottenham. So for whatever you say about all those boys that moved out, that we all, we were thinking, what are you doing? But George wanted it locked down, right? He wanted to get his own people in and make them do what he wanted, and he did it.
Have you met TA before?
Yeah, a few times. Yeah, I have, yeah.
When I was speaking about being 14 in 1989, I wrote a note to Tony Adams and Prince in case I ever met both of them. Like, in a Keith moment, I should have kept it in my sock. So Righty goes.
You've eclipsed Keith.
Who would have thought that, eh?
My heart was breaking. Where were you when you were 14? What the hell was going on?
I wrote a note. I was like, this one's for Prince and this one's for Tony Adams. If I ever meet him, this is what I'm going to say.
And you didn't keep them.
So basically, Righty goes over and gets Tony Adams and goes, right, this guy wants to meet you. So I'm standing in front of Tony Adams. Tony Adams has got that kind of look on his face, frankly, of being the only sober person at a party where everyone else is battered.
He couldn't wait to get out.
He couldn't wait to leave. So he looks down expectantly, and every single word that I wrote when I was 14 went out the window. Everyone around, I think Chris and Al were advising him, and our friend Becky Thomas were advising him about what chicken wings to have. And I'm just staring at him with like a look of love on my face. It was completely wasted on me. But it was such an exciting party, seeing all these people here. And back when we started off with Spurs, so we should end with them. The whole conversation about like in your cup final, our cup final is the cup final.
Yeah, that's a thing that annoyed me.
Is the cup final.
Yeah, that was our cup final.
Hang on a minute. Because one of their fans said that was our cup final.
They all...
Oh, it was in the Telegraph. It was in the Telegraph.
Keith. No one told Al this till now.
Is that what's happened?
That's what they said. That was our cup final.
Are you shitting me?
This is the sound of...
Are you trying to have a laugh at me?
This is the sound
They said that was our cup final.
This is the sound of the...
Beating them at home?
This is the sound of the touch paper.
Who said that?
It's in a Telegraph.
How deluded are these people? You're shit. You'll always be shit. Tottenham Hotspur. You'll always be shit. You'll always be shit. You'll always be shit. Tottenham Hotspur. You'll always be shit.
Glad I mentioned that one just near the end.
Yeah, I think on that note.
Ta-da.
Cheers, mate.